Welcome everybody back to another edition of Trust the Mics, a Sixers show. Mike Gill, MKB. We are back with another week of Sixers hoops. They got the Celtics tonight. We're going to dive into that and more on today's show. We got a lot going on. Back-to-back bonanza last weekend. 3 back-to-backs already in the young season for the Sixers. Third time they're playing the Celtics. We'll dive into all that and more. Jared McCain's return. For the Sixers, underwhelming. What's the big picture there? When will we see Paul George with or without Embiid? Has that been put to rest? I saw some stats on Iverson, Maxey. Is there a debate on who's the better guard, Maxey or Iverson? Who you got? We bring in Michael Kasky-Blomain for another edition of Trust the Mics on this Tuesday. What's up, everybody? Michael, what's up, dude?
What's up, Mike? How you doing?
All right, late night Eagles last night, but here we are. We're back. It's 11 o'clock. We're grown men. We can make this work, right?
Yeah, shaking it off. I had a couple cold ones with a couple buddy last night watching the game. So birds are 7-2. So I'm happy today.
All right. That's cool because no conflict with the Sixers. They got the night tonight. We'll talk about the Celtics matchup in just a little bit. We'll talk about what happened in the back-to-back as well. You can always like, rate, review, subscribe to Trust the Mics here on the BFA platforms and all our socials. MKB, Trust the Mics, Mike Gill Show. Wherever you find us, hit the repost button, hit the subscribe button. If you're on the YouTube channels, you can comment and like on YouTube as well. All right, let's get into some of the topics today. How about the start of the season? Fool's Gold, 5-1. Was the hot start a Fool's Gold situation? Like, do you feel like the buzz has already kind of worn off this team? What do you got?
A little bit, Mike. A little bit. I do feel like it might have been a fool's gold situation. If you look at, the teams that they beat during that stretch, they've yet to beat a team that currently has a winning record. They've had, a couple opportunities, recent games, Bulls, Cavs, a couple of the teams in the East that are in the, the playoff picture haven't been able to come out on top. It's certainly not panic time. Obviously still really early in the season, but some of that momentum, I think that they built up early in the season against some of these bottom feeders in the Eastern Conference might have been a little bit of fool's gold to think, well, wow, this team is like really good. I think they've come back to earth a little bit. Even since our episode last week, they've dropped down in the standings a few pegs. So it's too early to say it was completely fool's gold, Mike, but I do think maybe the strength of schedule early on got them some wins against some, not so great teams. And now they've had, struggles against some of the better teams in the conference.
Well, it's so hard to tell, man, because I understand what you're saying. I tend to agree. I mean, you're playing Charlotte. You got to come back from behind. You're playing, Orlando, who's a good team, not a great team. Washington, a bad team. And you're going to try to find ways to beat these teams. I will say, though, I do think it's tough. Like, people are complaining about Nurse, and I certainly think we can get into, the job that he's doing and what we think there. But one night you have Embiid for 20 minutes. Then you don't have him at all. Then you have him for 25. Then you don't have him at all. Is it 20 or 25? You don't have Paul George. One night I have McCain, but I didn't use him because I wanted to pair him up with Maxey. I played Eric Gordon. I mean, there's no consistency to who's playing, who's in the lineup, who's not. So I do think it's a testament to them that they've been winning some games without the continuity and consistency that you hope to have. Now, I don't know that means it's not fool's gold, but what I would say is I am somewhat impressed that they've been able to find ways to win games without the consistency of a roster from night to night.
Yeah, no, I agree there. There's definitely been, some encouraging signs in that regard. But with Nick, I mean, obviously that was the situation he had last year where there was just no consistency with the lineups and the roster. And honestly, I think that's what ended up saving his job last year. The fact that they had that, kind of built-in an excuse that any given night he didn't have nearly, the full crop of players. He didn't know who was going to be available. I don't think that same thing is going to fly this year, Mike. Obviously, it's way too early. But if this, season pans out somewhat like last year, if they, trend downward a little bit moving forward, I don't think the excuse of, hey, like Joel was in and out of the lineup, Paul George wasn't available all the time, like we had guys in and out. I don't think that's going to fly in terms of his job security moving forward. But I do agree that some of these wins even though they have been against, not great teams, have been impressive in the fact that they've been able to kind of balance Joel's absence, Paul George not being there, McCain, obviously. So, he's had some difficult things to work with early in the season.
He definitely does. But, I mean, all right. So the play at the end of the game the other night, I know everybody's been talking about this play. What were your thoughts on the play? I said, like, that play was something. Then he did explain afterwards what they were looking to do. I saw Jimmy Lynam say on the post game something very similar, that they were trying to get a 2 quickly, then either try to get the steal on the inbounds, a trap, and then if that doesn't work, foul, and then set up your 3-point play. Okay, fine. Detroit played really good defense. It didn't happen. At that point, you need to call a timeout and then say, let's get out of this and now set up a 3-point play. That's where I think a lot of people would be like, okay, your theory's fine, but why not then call a time? Did they have a timeout left? I think they did.
I think they had one left at that point. Yeah, no, I agree. Either a timeout or have a built-in counter into the play that you call coming out of the timeout where, it makes sense. They're trying to get downhill, go for 2, maybe draw a foul. I get it on paper. Obviously, the Pistons played it really well, clogged it up, jammed it up top. You should have a counter built in right there. Like, all right, this first read isn't working. Switch to this. And if not, then you call that timeout, reset things from the sideline, and go for there. So, that was a bit of a head-scratcher for sure.
So, that play was one. What are you thinking overall in terms of, just how this season has gone so far? What Nurse has kind of done in terms of adding, or are you more questioning?
I'm more questioning, Mike. I'm a little skeptical. I came into the season skeptical in Nick Nurse. I'm not, at the point of calling for his job or his head or anything like that. I haven't been super impressed with what I've seen, especially on the offensive end. I think it needs more creativity. I think it needs more movement, which is what they talked about coming into this season, getting the ball, swinging around, getting more guys involved. I see a lot of Tyrese Maxey, like one-on-one, ISO, ball screen, DHO, and then create, and then you have 4 guys standing around the perimeter waiting and watching Maxey create or Edgecombe create. I think there could just be more creativity in the offense, more opportunities for VJ to go downhill one-on-one against guys. I think you could get Joel when he's in there in better position sometimes, as opposed to, like, I get the theory of not having him play in the post as much, save the wear and tear, more play at top of the key at the nail, at the foul line. But once in a while, and especially in certain situations where you need a basket, it's almost a cheat code putting him on the block, drawing a double team, letting the ball swing out. I think there could be some more of that. So Nick has done some good stuff. Obviously, he's empowered some of the younger guys, given them opportunities. The team looks more competitive, athletic, quicker this year. But, when it comes down to it in the guts of the game, I still have questions about the execution and game plan, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, and this is where I think, you got to kind of put the rest of this team better off with or without Embiid. Okay, I get it. He's not the Embiid that won the MVP right now. Can he get to that point? I don't know. You tell me an MVP that 2 seasons later was cooked. Like, everyone's like, this guy's washed, he's cooked. Like, he didn't play in 8 months, okay? Like, I get it. It's frustrating. And defensively, I don't think it's where you want him to be. But his presence out there allows Maxey to be a better player. Without Joel, now Maxey's having the night-to-night struggle of, hey, you're the guy, and we're going to game plan for you. It's cool if he's the guy if Embiid's out there with him. Because Embiid, like it or not, whether you're one of these grumpy people that hate Embiid and want him traded and want him gone, his presence still draws, and that gives Maxey more room to roam. Without him, that final play was a mess the other night, and a lot of the nights a mess. It's just Maxey sometimes out of control, trying to get to the basket, and for whatever reason, Maxey has not resonated with the officials to get calls. I mean, he just doesn't. He gets to the basket, he's out of control, he's falling on the ground, he's sitting there going, hey, why not a call? You're not getting that call. With Joel, the offense, this 2-man game with those two could be lethal by the time we get to March. If you double Maxey and throw a pass back to Embiid, he's just going to step right into his favorite spot and hit that shot. If you double Joel, well, now Maxey's – you can't do that. So you got to have Joel out there to make this thing work. For all the people who just don't want Joel, watch these games when he's there and he's fluid. I get it. He has not been fluid. But Saturday night, that was a tandem, man. Those guys were – and Joel's like sprinting up and down the court. I was like, what are you doing, dude? So I think that – better with or without Joel. I think people want Joel to be the guy that he was, and he's not. Maybe yet, maybe he won't be. I don't know, but he certainly makes the other guys better.
He's also been looking better, Mike, just in the context of this season, compared to what we saw in that Celtics game 3 weeks ago, the season opener, compared to what we saw Saturday night and the couple games before that. He's not back to that MVP level, but he looks much more fluid, much more comfortable, especially defensively. He's moving better. The recovery time, a couple like huge blocks in that game on Saturday night against Toronto.
Four blocks.
Yeah, so I mean, he's definitely trending in the right direction in terms of how he looks and how he seems to feel out on the floor, which obviously is a huge plus.
Let's read a couple comments here real fast. We got some coming in. The issue in the final 5 minutes of the game is Maxey's the main scorer. He's 6'2" guards. They can only take you so far. You see Cade Cunningham, 6'6". Yeah, I mean, that is like Iverson. We're going to talk about Iverson and Maxey. Iverson was awesome. He was great, but he could only get you so far. I would say that is fair in this capacity. People always have wanted to be, hey, it's now Maxey's team. That's great if you want to turn it over to a 6'2" guard. I don't know how far you go with a 6'2" guard. That doesn't mean he's not awesome. That doesn't mean he's not spectacular and fun to watch. But how far can you go with a 6'2" guard being your main guy? I think that's a fair question.
It is, and it's tough, too, when he's already playing 40-plus minutes and carrying the offense for the first 43 minutes of the game, and then you get into the guts of the game, the final 5 minutes, and, you're expecting him to close this out for you when he's already given it 110% for 4. He's leading the NBA in minutes. That probably is going to continue. That's the Nick Nurse special. He loves, riding his guys heavy. He's like the new age Tibbs, I guess, in that regard. But, that makes it even more difficult. So, I think there is something there. In general, it is harder for small guards, especially small guards that aren't getting the whistle that probably is fitting of their growing star status in the league. So I do think there's some merit to that. And that goes to exactly what you were saying, Mike. That's when Joel especially can help in those closing minutes of the game when it slows down a little bit and you're playing more in the half court and you need a half court bucket. His gravity, he's an automatic double team. It opens things up for the shooters, cutting lanes for Maxey. Like I think there's definitely room for improvement in the late game situation when Joel is out there.
Well, yeah, and especially the other night when you only needed a 2. You didn't have to have a 3 in that situation. Right. It would have cut the lead to 1, but still, Joel could at least be a screener there. Drummond's not right. Drummond's not even out there to help you kind of turn the corner because he's not. There's no concern about Drummond's offense at all. So I know he hit a couple threes in the corner and that's nice and whatever. But still, Joel's presence as a screener is just such a big addition to the offense that they don't have when he's out there. So to me, that question is preposterous. It's just people just don't like Joel. I get it. Like you're tired of Joel. The frustration with Joel makes common sense. But if you really think this team can do anything, now you might say, I don't think this team can do anything. It's time to move on. That's another whole another conversation of who's trading for Joel Embiid in that contract. Nobody.
Right. And I think it's fair to say that in certain stretches of certain games, playing a lineup without Joel might be beneficial. Like, you can increase the speed that these guys play. You put in like a Bona or you go small with a Walker or a Barlow or a Watford at the 5, and then you have Oubre, Maxey, Grimes, and Edgecombe. That team's obviously going to be able to get up and down the floor faster than a unit with Joel out there. And in any given game, there's time for that. But that doesn't mean that as a whole, the team is better without Joel. Like you said, Mike, they're going to need him for some situations this season if they're going to, materialize into anything.
All right, let's get into something that we keep seeing here. We talked about before. What's going on in the third quarters? Nurse said, I think that's just basketball. If you watch games, this is what goes on. Then he mentioned that the fouls in the game made it really tough that they got to the line, I think 15 times in the game. But this keeps happening every single night. Is he right, though? Is it just basketball, pick out every game? Or do the Sixers have something going on in these third quarters that, I don't know. What happens in the third quarter? Do you have a hypothesis?
I wrote on for 97.3 the other day that I would love to be a fly on the wall in the locker room this season at halftime just to hear what the hell, the messaging is to the team, because I understand what Nick Nurse was saying after that game. We were down in the post game. He said that in terms of it's kind of just the flow of basketball. And I do agree that the NBA today, it's different where leads, people would get really uptight when the Sixers would blow a lead under Doc Rivers or Brett Brown. And a lot of times I would say this is the modern NBA. A 12-point lead isn't what it used to be. You could blow, 3 threes in 2 minutes of game time. Boom, it's a 3-point game like that. My issue is if it's happening at the exact same point in the game every single time, and then it's impacting the game moving forward. I mean, you blow the third quarter, you're putting yourselves on your heels in the fourth, and we've seen that time and again. They've been able to rally after a poor third quarter, put themselves in position to win, but then fall slightly short of pulling it out because the momentum really kind of faded in that third quarter. 9 out of 10 games this year, they've been outscored in the third. I just don't see that as a coincidence, Mike. I think it's something bigger. I don't know if they lose like the mojo or the energy coming out of halftime, and it takes them a good while to get it back going into the fourth. I don't know if he needs to, call some more aggressive play calling coming out of halftime. I don't necessarily have what they could do better, but it's certainly, to me, it's bigger than just like, hey, this is the theme of basketball. It's a trend that's concerning, I think.
Yeah, I agree to some extent that it keeps happening, so therefore there's something to it. I don't know what it is, though. I just can't, put my thumb on, this keeps happening every single time. The only thing that keeps happening is leads keep shrinking. But what's the common theme of the lead shrinking? That I can't really figure out yet. He did mention the other night the ticky-tack calls. They got to the line. That gave them an extra 15 points, and there's your difference in the game. I'll have to keep an eye out on that, I guess, because I really don't – it is happening. It is happening over and over again, but don't know why. All right, let's get into this one. What's going on – are we losing faith in Jared McCain's season? I was very excited about McCain being a part of this offense and giving Maxey a breather so he doesn't play 40 minutes, maybe taking some of the Edgecombe's minutes. So we talked about Edgecombe last week. He looked like he was a little tired in back-to-backs. He's a college kid, young guy, doesn't really do that. Oh, McCain steps in. This Jared McCain, are we losing some faith that he can be a factor this season, or should we give him time?
I definitely think you have to give him time, Mike. You have to keep in mind, obviously, he hasn't played in 9-10 months, dealing with not one, but 2 injuries you're coming back from. But with that said, it has not been a pretty start for Jared McCain so far this season. 0 for 7 in 24 minutes.
Well, let me ask you this question. One,
fire away.
The thumb should not be a hindrance to
Conditioning. Yeah.
Right. I get it. He hurt his thumb, and that caused him to miss time. But if he's clear to the thumb, you wouldn't think that is – the problem is the knee. That's the problem.
Right.
He's got this brace on. He looks clunky as can be.
Yeah.
He had a meniscus injury. You're not thinking that this is major reconstructive surgery here. I'm a little surprised at how the mobility is this big of an issue with this. When you hear meniscus a lot of times, depending on the severity, some guys come back 2 weeks later. He got hurt in December. Almost a year later, and he looks like this. I'm pretty surprised.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, Mike, that to me is the bigger concern than the field goal shooting or whatever, that the shots are ultimately going to fall. But he just looks like he can't move. The lateral movement is there.
He looks like Joel did last year, walking around like a Frankenstein.
As a 21-year-old guard, that is not a good comparison to have. But yeah, it's a lot. To me, honestly, he just looks like a guy that wasn't ready to come back. I don't know, maybe did they rush him back? It's to your point. It seems like it was more than enough time, obviously, all of last season, the entire offseason, to build back after that knee surgery that he had. But, to me, he looks like a guy that was not really ready to be out there. Nick Nurse clearly doesn't have any confidence in him. In the 2 games he's played, obviously the time has been minimal, and there's been weirdness. He had Eric Gordon in the game before him on Sunday night in that game against the Pistons. McCain didn't check in till midway through the second quarter. I think clearly there's some part where Nick Nurse knows also that he's not ready to really contribute at a high level, which to me, I'm willing to give him a little more time. Obviously, 2 games doesn't indicate that everything, but it's concerning, Mike.
I agree. Because I was looking forward to McCain coming back and what he would bring. I loved what his game was last year. I was like, man, this guy's a hooper. He can shoot. He can score. He's energy. He's hopping all over the place. He's up. And he just right now has been pretty deflating to see that this is the version that we've got back in. So I don't know what you do with him moving forward. And you're right. Saturday night doesn't play at all. Oh, we wanted to pair. Eric Gordon got in the game before him. I wanted to pair him up with Maxey. What kind of –
that to me didn't make a lot of sense.
There's no world in this season where Eric Gordon should be getting minutes ahead of Jared McCain unless something is not right with Jared McCain. Like it doesn't. And the thing is, the Sixers need him. Like you and I have talked about this in previous weeks, like talking about what his role is going to be. And we see guys tiring down. Like you said, Edgecombe a little tired on the second night of that back-to-back. Maxey wearing down in fourth quarters. Like they need a guy that can come in and eat up some of those minutes. And McCain is supposed to be that guy. So, I mean, they need him.
Yeah, because I agree. And the VJ stuff, like he got off to such a great start. Everybody's going bonkers. You got to taper that down a little bit. As soon as he got on film a little bit, people started throwing some different defensive looks at him. So I don't think you can look at VJ Edgecombe. He's not a 30-point-a-game scorer. He's probably, I don't know, more of a 15 to 17-point-a-game scorer. So you can't play VJ Edgecombe the minutes that you're playing him and think that that's going to be sustainable. He's a guy that probably needs to get less exposure, be explosive when he's out there. Him and McCain seem like they would have been a nice little interchange. Not having McCain to kind of jump into that role, very disappointing so far.
Yeah, completely agree.
All right, what's up with Paul George? I mean, is this going to be like Andrew Bynum? Like, when is he going to be ready to play? We're going to hear that he's bowling or something. Like, this seems to be very weird that there's no updates. Oh, he's going to get an update this weekend. Sunday night, the game's at 7:30. They still didn't have an update. What's up with that?
I wish I had answers for you, Mike. The Sixers have been very, as is traditional with the Sixers, tight-lipped about it. Not a lot of updates. I personally thought he'd be back by now. I thought he was on the heels of McCain. Like I thought right after McCain came back, George would be back. Obviously, the latest reporting was that he had a meeting with doctors this past weekend, and that it would, they would go from there. I'll be down there tonight at Xfinity Mobile for the Celtics game. Hopefully, maybe Nick will have an update at that point. But it's strange. I did think at this point, I mean, they announced well over a month ago, I think, that he was back to full 5-on-5 practice, ramp up. Usually a couple weeks after that, you're good to, get back into game flow. Still not there. I mean, it's still early in the season. I don't think it's panic time quite yet with that, but that's also a weird development. I thought he'd be back by now. Lack of information from the team is a little bit concerning. I don't know what to make of it personally.
Well, and then here's my problem with it, okay? Once he's back, minutes restriction, what are we dealing with here, right?
Yeah.
20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. Like, I get it. He's got knee surgery. He's going to, but that's the other problem you have with the fool's gold buying in is I don't know when Joel's going to play. And when he does, I don't know how many minutes it is. Then I'm going to have the same problem with McCain. I don't know when he's playing, and then what's his role? And now I'm getting a third guy who's going to be in the same boat of I don't know when he's even playing, and then when he plays, is he 20 minutes? Is he 25? Is he this is what a recipe for I just can't buy into the big picture. I like what I'm seeing. I can't believe but I can't believe everything like we talked about in the first segment, a little fool's gold.
Yeah, having three key contributors dealing with, fresh off of knee surgeries with limited playing time and minute restrictions is not usually a recipe for, a ton of success.
I want to get into I've been a big Trendon Watford guy. He had a triple-double on Friday night. He didn't play as well on Sunday night, but it's going to be interesting. When Paul George returns, you got Kelly Oubre, you got Watford. How are they going to fit George in? Can you bring George off the bench? Would that be something that would work? Does Oubre go to the bench? Is Watford the bench guy? I kind of like Watford in the starting lineup, but I also see what Oubre's doing. So I think this is interesting. Here's a lineup that I like, MKB. See what you think.
Let's hear it.
They've been going three guards. I'm souring a little bit more on Grimes. I need to limit Grimes. He's okay. I'm not blasting the guy. I'm not down on him. I'm just saying. I don't think it's like, oh, Maxey, Grimes, and an Edgecombe. You got to play those three guys, three guards. What about a Watford, Oubre, George, and just go bigger?
With or without Joel?
Joel? I'm talking about Joel, Watford, Oubre, George, a Maxey look.
Yeah, I like it, Mike. I like it a lot. I think Oubre has done enough so far this season. A little bit of a rough game against the Pistons on Sunday night. But he's been a two-way presence for this team. I think that Nick Nurse really likes what he brings on both ends of the floor, so I don't see him necessarily dropping out of that starting lineup. And yeah, to your point, I like what he could bring. I think what Wofford has done has been really impressive. I don't see Paul George coming off of the bench. So if you want to go bigger, you drop Oubre, let him be your sixth man, come in and get buckets. It'll help with the rebounding. Wofford has, like you've been saying, a little bit sneaky playmaking too, where you can almost run the offense through him and he'll get some easy looks. So
did you catch who Embiid compared him to?
I did catch it, Mike. I was trying to not talk about it, but yeah, I mean, you get the Ben Simmons comparison.
I said it's like Ben Simmons, but a guy who's willing to shoot. He's not a great shooter, but at least he's willing to shoot. And he's got the 6'9". He rebounds. He's a really good passer. He's a facilitator. I talked about it before the season, watching him with the Nets, and the Nets stunk. So it was hard for him to get the numbers that he should have. But he's the hockey assist guy. He's the second guy. He's the guy who makes the extra pass to the next guy who makes the pass. He is one of those guys that I think would fit in so well if this team was healthy, just like the message that we just got. It's like trying to win a NASCAR race on 3 tires after knee injuries in basketball. That's the problem. Watford, to excel, I think, he's got to have everybody out there and know their little mannerisms and know where they are in spacing on the floor. But I would like to see, and it doesn't have to be the starting lineup, but like lineups where they go Maxey, Oubre, Watford, George, Embiid, go longer, go bigger, and get rebounds. You can still get out and run with that group. That's what but I don't think I don't know. I don't think they want to take Edgecombe out of the lineup right now, but maybe he'd be more explosive coming off the bench, matching up with guys who aren't quite, as talented, and he can come in and cook with the second unit.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea. Mike, to your point, I don't know that they do want to move him out of the starting lineup at this point, which is understandable. But, I mean, it's the flexibility that we've been talking about. They have options with this lineup. I would like to see Nick Nurse tap into it a little bit. I mean, you obviously don't want to be altering your starting lineup based on opponent. But with the way this team is, with Joel in and out, obviously Paul George not there yet, I wouldn't hate seeing a little bit of experimentation and see which kind of these units would gel together. Because, these are a lot of new players on this team that weren't here, obviously, the past couple of years. So kind of seeing how they vibe with each other moving forward in the early, especially regular season, I think would be beneficial. So you kind of get a lineup of like, oh, Wofford plays well off of these guys and knows their tendencies well, or this combination of players works well. So you know that moving forward. And then when you get the guys back full time, you can go from there.
Like the MASH unit can play together. Guys who only play 20 minutes a night, just play the guys who play 20 minutes a night together. So it's always those same guys playing 20 minutes a night together, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is Trust the Mics. Every Tuesday, we're live. You can get us on all podcasting platforms, on the X platform, and on YouTube through the BFA Sports YouTube platform, at Mike Gill Show, at The Real Mike KB, at Trust the Mics on the X platform. Plenty of ways to find us. Follow one of those spots and check out the show. Let's get into a little fun one here. Are you Team Iverson or Team Maxey? They put that graphic up on the screen the other night, man. I was pretty shocked that Maxey pretty much, if you just looked at the back of the basketball card, you would say Maxey's just the better player flat out. What do you got?
I mean, no one is going to replace Iverson, obviously, Mike, in the hearts and minds of Sixers fans, myself included. But Maxey's impressive, man. And you look at, like you said, you look at those stats and the shooting numbers and the way he's able to do it. The efficiency is obviously higher than what you saw with Iverson. And the threat of the long ball is just something that, Iverson, obviously, all-time Sixers leader in three-pointers made, which Maxey will probably pass later this season, by the way. But he's just more lethal from that step back, like crossover three-point range. Iverson, obviously, so much of the offense was downhill, getting into the paint, pull-ups, mid-range, finishing at the rim, where Maxey just has the deadly three-point part of his game with the efficiency. So, you're not going to get me to say that he's better than prime Iverson, but the fact that it's even a conversation, Mike, is really a testament to Maxey. And they look so similar. I said that on Sunday, especially in the black throwbacks. Like, there are so many plays where Maxey just reminds you of Iverson. Like, he had the crossover going downhill and finished at the
There you go. Look at him. Look at him there. Both of them with the hands on the hips.
Seriously, I mean, he gives you flashbacks the way that he plays, especially in those jerseys. So Iverson obviously is my guy. I got him right back there on the shelf. But, I mean, Maxey is playing at another level this season. And if he can continue that, he'll need a deep playoff run, obviously, like Iverson, to stamp himself. But the fact that that's even a question that you could ask me with a straight face is a testament to how great Maxey's become, Mike.
Well, listen, and we have the stats scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Only 2 players in NBA history have opened a season with 10 straight games of 25 points or more and 5 or more assists. It's Maxey and Iverson. Oddly, it was an older version of Iverson, not like the 01 version. It
like
was an older version of Iverson. Right? Yeah, 05, 06, Iverson. But Iverson, I mean, Maxey's numbers across the board, it's just higher scoring, higher three-point, higher percentage. I mean, just higher assists, not even close. Like, the numbers are all in favor of Maxey. Here they are. This graphic was up on NBC Philadelphia Saturday night. They both average over 40 minutes a game. Maxey, 33.5 points per game. Iverson, 31. I was surprised at Maxey's higher score. Field goal percentage. Maxey, 47.8. Iverson, 42. Three-point percentage, 47.9 for Maxey. Now, it's early in the year. I'm sure that'll kind of go back down. But Iverson, 32. Not a great three-point shooter. Rebounds, 5 for Maxey. Almost 4 for Iverson. Assist, 8.5 Maxey. 4.6. Doubles him up. The one area where Iverson did win was steals, 2.5 to 1.1. But when you look at those numbers, Maxey has him beat in every category. I was shocked to see those numbers side by side like that. It just doesn't feel that Maxey has the same impact on every game. He has the impact on some games. But Iverson felt like he had an impact on every game, every night, where I don't know that Maxey has the consistency of having an impact every night quite yet. That said, both of these guys, awesome, fun to watch. It just felt like Iverson was a bigger star.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's even a question. Like, Iverson is definitely a bigger star. And those numbers that you read, that was his MVP season, right? The 2000-2001 season?
No, this was when – oh, yes. That was his MVP season. Sorry.
Yeah, which is, I mean, to your point, crazy. And like I said, I think the efficiency and the three-point shooting and even the playmaking, I think, is what really separates them. But I do think they made a good point on the broadcast. I was rewatching it yesterday when this graphic came up. Slightly different situation. I mean, obviously, Iverson his role was clearly defined as, you're not a playmaker. You're the finisher. You're the guy that goes and gets the bucket. Maxey's kind of like a pseudo, they have him as the de facto playmaker and the scorer. So he's asked to create a little bit more, obviously, in terms of getting other guys more involved than Iverson did. I think that obviously plays a role in it a little bit. But I mean, overall, the 3-point shooting and the efficiency, I think, is what really jumps out when you compare those two stats.
Yeah, I definitely think that Iverson, especially in the MVP season, I mean, his shooting percentage and everything's down because he's jacking up so many shots because they had nobody else to score on that team.
Right.
That would be a big factor there. Sixers back-to-back. So they win the Saturday night. They lose the Sunday. I don't know. I mean, this could have been disastrous for them. They lost the Bulls game. They lost the Cleveland game. They could have, you could have looked at it and said, hey, you lose that game Saturday night, you're playing the Pistons the next day. I thought that was a big win for them to get the Saturday night win. And they were down in that game early, and they had to come back again, and they kind of cruise controlled to the win in that game. I thought Saturday was one of their more complete, impressive victories, considering the spot they were kind of in. They really needed that one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I also think it was one of the best, probably the best Joel has looked this season. I don't necessarily think that's a coincidence either. I thought he was pretty impactful defensively. We mentioned he had the 4 blocks. Looked a little bit better offensively and fluidity-wise. But, I mean, that they did definitely need that win, especially with, the Pistons coming back in. They didn't want to go 0-4 last week, Mike, between episodes. They went 1-3, obviously fell down in the standings a little bit. But, I do think once the consistency with the rotation comes, we'll see a little bit more consistency and outcome and output for this Sixers team. But to your point, it's really tough to judge right now when guys are in and out, minute restrictions, like not a lot of consistency. Difficult to get too much momentum going when that's the case.
Yeah, and the Saturday game, look, I mean, I figured it was a fait accompli. They were going to lose that game to Detroit. Detroit's a pretty good team. They're young. They're up and coming. The playoff team last year. Now they're moving from playoff team to maybe trying to get top 4 seed, I would think, with that team. And quite frankly, I think the Sixers probably should have won that game. I mean, the last play of the game, the 2 games, I mean, they really had the game against Boston where they had a bad final play, and the game against Detroit. So they have hung in there against 2 teams. Now, Boston will play tonight. They're split so far. The game tonight is on NBC, I believe, right? Peacock, NBC. So it's a national game. They'll also play Detroit again on Friday. So Joel, I would think, would play in both of these games. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But, yeah, I thought the game they played on Saturday night, Joel definitely played his best. But I thought maybe overall that was the best game that they had played of the season. So, all right. By the way, made my debut on Saturday calling the Blue Coats. I'm doing some play-by-play for the Blue Coats this season. So I want to give a shout-out to my Blue Coat of the week. I'm doing the game on Saturday, too. I'll be on Saturday. They play Charlotte, Greensboro, I guess they're called. It must be a Charlotte G League team. But that was fun. I called the game. It was on CBS Philly 57. I think it was on at MSG in New York, so any Knicks fans out there that were watching. Kennedy Chandler, by the way, double, 19 points, 12 assists in the game. He's a guy who's been bouncing around, a little 6-foot guard, pretty impressive. They got a nice little group of guards. I said to the broadcast, the problem is the Sixers are so deep at guard.
Yeah, don't need guards.
Salas is a nice little player. I like Bagley. Bagley got a cup of coffee with the Sixers last year. Got to watch out for Marjan Beauchamp. He's been a guy. He was like a high prospect. Played for the G League Ignite team. A lot of people thought he could have been like a lottery pick. Didn't happen. He's bounced around, but long, lengthy. So definitely guy. Saw Janai Broom play down there as well.
How'd he do?
Played pretty well. I think, he's in the G League. It's tough. The game's up and down. The pace of the game is definitely a lot different. So he got hurt. He had to leave the game. Then he came back in. Daryl Morey was there, though. He was checking somebody out, maybe, I guess. We'll see. But check in Blue Coats Saturday night. I think it's 6 o'clock is the game this week. I got to check my schedule. I'll be calling a handful of games this year. I'll let you guys know here on the Trust the Mikes pod. All right, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No final thoughts, Mike. Just, hopefully the Sixers can turn it around a little bit. They went 1-3 last week in between our 2 episodes. Do that again. They're going to be, even further down the Eastern Conference standings. Curious to see what happens with McCain moving forward, hopefully where he starts to look a little bit better. I think that will be a big piece for the Sixers team. But
how about prediction? Will Paul George play this week?
I'll say no right now, just based off the way. I mean, it just seems too convoluted and a little secretive. I thought he would have played already, Mike. The fact that there's still no updates. Hopefully, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like he's not quite ready.
All right, that's. I tend to agree with you on this one. It doesn't feel like he's ready to come back. They did not say anything really this weekend. No updates provided. By the way, Sixers 6-4 right now. They were in the play-in round. They would be the 7 seed in the play-in tournament. We're early, but that's where they currently sit. By the way, as we fired up this pod today, Nico Harrison got axed by Dallas. So they finally said enough's enough.
Yeah.
So that's been the big news over there on the national scene. All right, we'll do it again. By the way, Cade Cunningham last night. You watch any of that game? Jeez.
Yeah, he's
46 and 45 minutes. My man is a baller. 6'6" guard. There you go. That was what somebody was mentioning earlier. Bigger guards can't be stopped. Cade Cunningham is showing us that.
I love his game. He took over in the second half. I actually thought on Sunday the Sixers did a pretty good job on him in that first half. They had, Oubre spent some time guarding him. Edgecombe spent some time guarding him. But then in that second half, he was just dominant. I mean, he led the Pistons to that win. Love his game. I think has a case as the best guard in the Eastern Conference right now, along with Brunson and Maxey. I think they're all
and they've won 7 in a row. They're 9-2 right now. I mean, this is a team we talked about before. Like last year, they made the playoff. They arrived. They went from 14 games to 44 games or something like that. And now they're going for number 1 seed type of team. I say top 4. They're trying to be a number 1 seed. And in this Eastern Conference, it's wide open, man. There's not like any clear cuts.
Yeah, they got a shot.
All right, Trust the Mics. Get on all podcasting platforms. Make sure you're back next week live for the show at 11 o'clock right here on all the platforms. And, of course, MKB, you're going to the game tonight, right?
Yeah, I'll be down at Xfinity Mobile.
All right, check out all his coverage at The Real Mike KB, at Trust the Mics, and, of course, every week right here on the BFA YouTube platforms. We'll be back again next week with a fresh Trust the Mics. Have a great week, everybody. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.